everybody. Welcome to the Earth Food First podcast.
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Earth Food First podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Navama, toddler mama, cookbook author, and certified integrative nutrition coach on a mission to reimagine America's kid food culture every Thursday. Today, I'm going to be sharing exactly what foods are on regular rotation in my Earth Food First kitchen. We'll go through the freezer, the fridge, the pantry, and see what I keep on hand every week to be able to feed my family in a way that really prioritizes their whole health. From snack bars to the cleanest yogurts on the block, we're going to cover it all. By the end of this episode, you'll know more about my top tip for helping kids eat more farm foods and less factory foods, my go-to produce haul for preparing quick veggie-forward meals, amazing sources for high-quality meat and fish, ingredients that I keep out of my kitchen, my favorite whole food pantry items from the very best rice to nature's gummy bears, spices and sauces that help vegetables shine, my favorite clean swaps for yogurt, popcorn, chocolate, and more, which baking mixes I like to use in a pinch, the best gluten-free pastas and pseudo seeds that we love, and all the kitchen tools I can't live without. So, since this is a safe space, I'm going to share something that's a little bit odd. I really love grocery shopping. Like, I really deeply love it. So in college, I would go late at night when it was quiet, and I would just walk up and down every aisle in search of some delicious new product that fit within my really tiny college student budget. And I would throw a bag of green grapes into the cart and just kind of mindlessly munch until one day my mom mentioned that those were charged by weight. So I was basically a grape thief the entire time, but nonetheless, I have just always loved the grocery store. So I've always loved food. I've always loved eating it and cooking it and exploring new products. In my early 20s, I didn't know how important it was to actually turn your products over and look at the labels or look for clean ingredients. Back then, I was actually a girl who downed about 6 Diet Cokes a day and survived mainly on cheap diet culture foods like Lean Cuisine and protein bars, Hot Pockets, and endless bottles of, I can't believe it's not, spray butter. So we all have a past, and that's mine. But today, obviously, my Earth Food First kitchen looks super different from my apartment kitchen at ASU. And honestly, it looks different from even 5 years ago before my daughter was born. So the birth of Stella, I think, was really the main event that made me take a much closer look at what products deserved my dollars when it came to food. I knew that a massive part of being a mom was really protecting Stella's health in the early years and teaching her skills to honor her health as she got older. While attending the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, I began to learn what a massive role food really plays in either helping or harming both our physical and mental health. And today, my kitchen is very much a reflection of this knowledge. So in my past life, which was around 2012, I spent about half a decade building a technology company with my husband for the kind of natural food industry. And it was a store locator technology that made it easier for consumers to find specific foods that they were searching for nearby. And every year, as the director of sales, I would attend these massive trade shows like Expo West, where I became super familiar with most of the brands that you might find in like Whole Foods today. And at first, like I think a lot of other people, I just assumed that if a product was in Whole Foods or in a natural grocer's, that it must be healthy or at least healthier. And now I had kind of a slightly larger budget than I'd had in college. And so I would love grocery shopping while I had this job and trying like all the new natural products. It was a great hobby of mine because every product could literally turn into a potential client. But in 2018, when I was diagnosed with a gut health issue, specifically methane dominant SIBO, I began a very long journey, one that I am still on today, of educating myself to better understand the difference between how our bodies respond to whole foods from the earth versus processed factory-made foods, even those that are made with cleaner ingredients. And I'll admit that the more I learned about processed products and how easily we can become overburdened and inflamed by consuming these engineered foods that make us crave more than our bodies actually need, the less I enjoyed shopping in the center of the grocery store. Because once I flipped over the package to actually look at the ingredients and the label, the reality is most products did not pass my new test, which basically says if it isn't an ingredient that's in my pantry, or I have zero idea what it is, it's not going in my cart. Today, I really try to use my dollars to support products that I say are Earth Food First approved. And so what exactly does that mean? I created a nice little cheat sheet for you. Here's what I look for on labels and packaging. First, a short list of ingredients. The shorter the better, guys. I try to keep it under 7 if at all possible. Basic whole food ingredients that I have in my own kitchen, 0 or low added sugars. This is a really important one, especially for kiddos, but for adults too. And I like the sugar to come from coconut sugar, honey, or maple syrup if possible. I also try to keep those sugars, if they're added, under 6 grams per serving. No canola oil, vegetable oil, or other seed oils. These can be inflammatory, often because of how they're processed. And if you eat out at restaurants at all, we absolutely get plenty of these in our diet, so we just don't need them in our homes. I try to avoid gums whenever I can, like xanthan gum, gar gum. These are in a lot of plant-based milks. They're frankly in a lot of everything. They're like emulsifiers that hold things together. I don't have them in my pantry. I don't want them in my body. And so they're not going in my cart. Preferred oils. What kind of oils do I use? Olive oil, like a great, extra virgin olive oil, not so much for cooking, but more just for dressing salads. For cooking, I like avocado oil or butter or tallow or ghee because they're great at high heats. And then I also really love sesame oil. No artificial sweeteners. So this is something that sometimes I'm okay with a little pure monk fruit, but all the other ones, especially the chemical ones, aspartame, get them out of your cart, my friends. Get them out of your cart. No artificial flavors and preferably no natural flavors. So natural flavors sound great, right? They sound natural and wonderful, but they are actually still made in a lab. And they can have over 100 chemicals in them, including solvents, emulsifiers, flavor enhancers, and preservatives that they do not have to disclose. So you can have a product that's proudly proclaiming on the front, 3 clean ingredients. And then if one of those is natural flavors, that could be 103 clean ingredients. So wild, crazy, we don't need them, but we can't always avoid them. Organic whenever possible. So especially with foods like oats, known to be heavily sprayed with pesticides like glyphosate, when you can go organic, organic's not perfect, but it tends to be better. No unnatural preservatives, right? There's a lot of those. And like if you buy your favorite, like Lindsay's olives recently, I stopped buying them because I turned the can over finally and there was like a weird sodium dye something that I don't know what it is. So now I buy different olives at Whole Foods. And then short expiration dates. This one's a little weird. I said it on, I think, the last episode, and I'll say it again. I want my bread to mold. What does that mean? Fresh products like fresh bread, tortillas, fresh pasta, we don't want them to last for weeks on end, a couple days, because that means they're made with real, simple ingredients and not packed with fillers and preservatives. So now you know what's not in my kitchen. Let's talk about all of the delicious foods that are, as well as a great grocery shopping strategy to make eating so many more earth foods basically inevitable. The next time you're grocery shopping, try to fill your basket with at least 50 to 75% whole foods versus packaged foods. This visual alone can be such a game changer when it comes to making it a priority to eat more farm food than factory food. Now, if you are someone who currently relies mainly on convenience foods to feed your family, this episode is a perfect guide for helping you take just a few steps towards replacing some of that factory food with whole food. When you start opening your refrigerator to get food more than your pantry, that is actually a good thing. And I understand that it takes more time and intention to prepare whole foods so they're ready to eat. But the overall effect it can have on your family's health is completely priceless. There's also another upside to cooking more whole foods. Occasionally, when you do it as a family or you meal prep as a family, it actually provides a totally different type of nutrition in the form of connection. Now, I grocery shop probably 2 to 3 days a week because, as you now know, I love it. But also buying food that's as fresh as possible can mean better taste and better nutrition. If I can go to the farmer's market, I will. If you have one available to you, incredible, and go support your farmers. The food is not only so much more fresh, but when it is that fresh, the nutrient value is definitely higher. So again, fresher equals better taste and higher nutrient values. Okay, so my grocery store strategy to maximize earth food purchases looks like this. I always hit up the produce section first. That's where I fill my basket with mainly vegetables, some fruits, squash, and potatoes. This little habit ensures that most of what's available in my kitchen is food from fresh plants. Next, I will head over to buy some animal proteins, mostly chicken, turkey, fish, and then sometimes I'll buy some red meat or pork. Then I'll head over to dairy, I'll grab some eggs, maybe any milks or yogurts, and then usually to like the aisle with beans, rice, lentils, pastas, and pasta sauces. If I'm running low, I will hit up like the spice and condiment section. My husband David calls me the condiment queen because I have almost never met a condiment that I don't love. But I've actually been trying to buy far less of these lately because not only are they costly, but so many of them have lots of weird filler ingredients that we just don't need. So I am trying to make more of these at home. And then finally, I'll stop over in like the international food section for things like coconut milk or tamari. I might grab some frozen peas and green beans, some lesser evil popcorn, which is, I swear that snack got me through COVID. It was my everything. I buy seeded crackers and maybe some fresh baked bread from the bakery if you can find something that's like paleo, or we buy like a gluten-free seed bread. And yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. So as you can tell, the majority of my shopping happens in two sections, and that's the produce section and the protein section. And as it so happens, these are the two food groups that I aim to make up the majority of our plates. Now, if you're vegan or like vegetarian, your trip might start in the produce section, and then you might just meander over to the aisle with like beans, lentils, or, quinoa. So that's it. That's like my grocery store blueprint to keep my kitchen filled with the foods that really support my family's mental and physical health. And now we are going to swan dive on into the details. So I've broken this up into refrigerator, freezer, pantry, and the island areas of my kitchen. Of course, I'm going to start with the veggies first, for obvious reasons. So here are the go-to vegetables that I literally buy pretty much weekly. Broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, spinach, kale or chard, right? Lots of greens, non-starchy vegetables. Cucumbers, baby sweet peppers. These are incredible raw or roasted. Carrots, celery, and mushrooms. So those are my weekly go-tos. I also buy these sort of maybe like on an every other week. I'll do like a Napa cabbage, which is awesome in a Chinese chicken salad, or great with soups. It's a less strong cabbage flavor to kind of introduce your family to the world of cabbage. Endive. Endive is like an unsung hero. It's these they look like a little unicorn horn. I have a good, funny little reel about them on Instagram, but they're great to fill as like a taco shell. So I'll put like everything from egg salad or tuna salad, or avocado in them. Radicchio, it looks like a little tiny dark purple red cabbage, but it's actually a really bitter like lettuce. And exposing our families to bitter flavors, it's something we don't do enough of, but bitter flavors actually get like a lot of our enzymes going during the digestion process. So bitter flavors are really wonderful for digestion. Arugula, bok choy, parsnips, turnips, and rutabagas, asparagus, beets, rapini, which is also known as broccoli rabe, and then just like various different types of lettuce. We go on veggie adventures like once a week. I'll take Stella and I say, let's buy a vegetable that we haven't tried in a long time or that you're excited about. And just kind of like naming it that, it helps her want to explore. And it also gets me outside my comfort zone. So we avoid vegetable ruts. Okay, let's move on to proteins. If at all possible, I will buy organic and grass-fed, grass-finished proteins. I know it's not possible for everyone, and depending on where you live, what's going on, it can be very costly. So do it when you can. Again, it's not a must. So every week I will buy one whole chicken, and I use this just for the meat, and then making like a nice broth from it is really easy. I buy some chicken breasts or thighs. Wild fish. So with fish, the smaller the better to avoid really high levels of mercury. I don't buy swordfish or ahi tuna for this reason, especially for kids. I don't give Stella tuna fish either for that reason. I'll also do some like ground turkey or chicken, bison, or ground beef. And then maybe once a month or so, I might buy rack of lamb. I'm going to publish a really easy rack of lamb reel. It's such an easy protein to make, but very few people know that. Or I'll do leg of lamb, bone-in pork chops. They have a lot more flavor than like a boneless pork chop. Flank steak or like a filet. Duck. Duck is also like not enough people cook duck, but it is delicious and not that hard to cook. And then Belinsky's chicken sausages. So these have no casing and they're organic. And so once in a while, I might buy those. Okay, my friends, moving right along. My favorite source for really high quality regenerative meat, if you want to buy it online, they also are in store. Force of Nature. Super high quality, and they're doing regenerative farming. So if you are going to choose to eat animals, this is one of the more eco-friendly ways to do that. You can find them, again, in local stores or online, and they do have some poultry as well. If you want to buy poultry online, I like Pasture Bird or Good Ranchers. And if I'm in the store, I will look for Mary's Organic Chicken. Okay, let's pop over into dairy. So eggs, try to buy them organic. It's even better if they are from a local farm. Cheese, we try for goat or sheep cheese because we just don't tolerate cow milk very well. I'll do raw cheese whenever it's possible. Something I avoid buying is pre-shredded cheese, and here's why. There is, even if it's organic, there is always a agent in it to keep the cheese separated, right? And so another thing we don't need in our bodies. So we'll just shred a little cheese off the block. Yogurts, plain yogurt. 2 words, plain yogurt. We don't need yogurt with added sugar. Our kids don't need it. Just add some fresh fruit to their yogurt, some cinnamon, some vanilla. So we buy Bellwether Farms plain sheep milk yogurt. They also now have a cow milk yogurt with the A2 milk protein, which is more digestible for some people. We love Coco June, which is a coconut milk plain yogurt. And then on occasion, I will buy Siggy's plant-based vanilla yogurt. This does have 8 grams of added sugar. I wish they would make one with less. But that I would serve almost like an ice cream. So milks, let's talk about milks. Mulk and Elmhurst, I'm always singing their praises because they are the cleanest milks on the market when it comes to nut milk. Oat milk had such a lovely moment in my life until I learned from many different sources that it can spike your blood sugar no different than a Coca-Cola. And I was feeling very bloated even from clean oat milk. And so when we make them into a liquid and then drink them, they just most bodies will respond just like sugar. So I have said sayonara to oat milk, and I now will opt for nut milks, or I'm also trying out raw milk from Raw Farm. And again, Alexander makes an A2 organic milk. Try to keep your milks organic if at all possible. Your like animal milks. Butter, I will do organic grass-fed salted butter. Salted butter makes food taste better, so I only buy salted butter. Coffee, I love the organic Chameleon cold brew coffee. I like to have it on hand for guests. I actually don't drink coffee with caffeine in it, but it's great. I buy their unsweetened one. You can serve it cold or you can heat it up. Condiments. Okay, condiments from the Condiment Queen. I have narrowed it down to my favorite. Here we go. Primal Kitchen. I'll pretty much buy anything from them. So appreciative that they are in the world because they make really clean products with no added sugar. So we do their ketchup and their barbecue sauce and their avocado mayo. I buy just like the 365 organic yellow mustard. Mustards, a lot of them have weird gums and fillers in them. So again, turn it over, read your labels. Miso Master Organic Miso Paste. Miso paste is fermented soybeans. If you're avoiding soy, this isn't for you. But I just like brush it on fish or veggies, and it makes them taste so incredible, and it lasts forever in your fridge. Tamari, which is like a gluten-free soy sauce. Coconut aminos. Coconut aminos will help your kids love vegetables. They are just such an incredible natural form of seasoning. And then we will do almond butter, peanut butter, sunflower butter, maple syrup. And then I do cook with a lot of herbs. So I love cilantro, oregano, Italian parsley. I'll put that in mason jars in my fridge to keep it fresh longer, the cilantro and the parsley, and then like ginger and turmeric root. The final items that you'll see in my fridge are Siete Cassava Tortillas Happy Wolf bars. We just did an episode on Happy Wolf. They are the cleanest kid bar on the market right now. Sauerkraut, pickled veggies, kimchi. These are all like foods that are going to be fermented to help support your gut. Two brands that I recently discovered that I love, Big Picture Foods. They make these incredible olives, and Small Town Cultures. And they make these like family-friendly raw fermented veggies, but they're not using chili flakes, or chilies. They're not spicy, so they're family-friendly. And then finally, I'm going to tell you about the most delicious pickle I've ever met. It's a gherkin, so it's not totally dill, not sweet. There is a little bit of sugar in it, but they're from Germany, but they don't have any weird preservatives at all. And I'm going to butcher the name, like Hengstenberg, crunchy gherkin pickles. They're incredible. Okay, guys, now we are going to hit the freezer. You will not find a lot in my freezer, but here is what is in it. I do frozen peas and frozen green beans. I often make those for like a veggies first in the morning for Stella, especially on mornings when we're rushing off to school. And then for smoothies, we have, again, all frozen that we cut up ourselves and put in Tupperware. Bananas, zucchini, pineapple, wild blueberries, greens. I do buy Sambazon unsweetened acai. And then we have an ice cream bowl machine to make our own ice cream, which we should do more often. And then I will freeze, I have these magic power pancakes that I make, and I'll always make a double batch and freeze them. So I always have a quick, easy earth food breakfast on hand at any moment. And then I put all of my bread in the freezer because it will mold in a couple days because it's real bread with real ingredients. So I, again, love like a good gluten-free seeded bread with nuts if you can do nuts because they're high in protein, or like a paleo bread made with almond flour. If you do live in Southern California, Erewhon has two amazing options, but definitely the fresher, the better when it comes to bread. So farmers markets are also a great spot to find locally made artisanal bread where, the baker is really caring about the quality and nutrient richness of the flours. I will also usually have something like, if I do pizza night, I'll make an extra pizza and freeze it in the fridge. Or sometimes I'll make a veggie bake, which is kind of like lasagna, but with a bunch of veggies. And I will freeze that. So we have a couple frozen dinners available, but there's still something we made at home. And then finally, we'll do like some homemade yogurt pops. So that's what you'll find in my freezer. Okay, let's cruise on over to my island, or basically wherever you keep your fruit bowl and any produce that does not need to be refrigerated. So I have a big fruit bowl, and you will generally find bananas and apples, and then whatever fruits are in season. So pears, Asian pears, whatever is good at the moment. Also avocados, eggplants. Eggplants do not need to be refrigerated. And then usually I have a mason jar with some basil in it and in water because basil does not need to be refrigerated. It will get moldy and weird very quickly in your fridge. Tomatoes, my friends, do not refrigerate your tomatoes. It takes all of the taste away from them. So keep those at room temperature. And then any squash, I love delicata squash, spaghetti squash, butternut squash. And then I have a bowl of citrus with lemons, limes, and then in-season citrus. And the lemons and limes are great to just squeeze in some warm water in the morning for the whole family, kids included. Stella loves her lime tea in the morning, and it's so healthy to get our digestion systems going. Okay, finally, we have made it to the pantry. So there are lots of things in my pantry, and we are going to have a complete and exhaustive, Earth Food First grocery list that you can download in the show notes. But here in the podcast, I will just list off my most favorite, most used products. So spices. Furikake. This is a really fun Japanese spice. It has seaweed and sesame seeds in it and usually salt. Kids usually think it's really fun, and you can find it online or in Japanese grocery stores. I use a lot of sesame seeds. Sumac is a really great spice that has this really lemony flavor. Ceylon cinnamon. I use Ceylon specifically because it is more healthful than regular cinnamon. Salt. Let's talk about salt. I do not use regular table salt with iodine in it. I get iodine from other places, but many of those salts are produced with chemicals and solvents that you just don't want to be a part of your life. And so I look for real salt. So I use Redmond's real salt, pink Himalayan sea salt, and then kosher sea salt. These have really rich minerals in them that our bodies love and need. Siete taco seasonings. All of their different taco seasonings are great, really high quality with clean, simple ingredients and no weird fillers. I keep everything seasoning, like everything bagel seasoning on hand. Those are great on veggies and fish, and then poultry seasoning as well. Oils and vinegars. So we talked some about oil, but the oil you'll find in my kitchen is Avo Haas avocado oil. There have been recent reports that much of the avocado oil out in the world is either being cut with other oils. So there's a couple brands that are known to be pure, and Avo Haas is one of them. Ancient Organics ghee, single origin organic extra virgin olive oil. If you can get it from Just Greece, Trader Joe's, I know, has a great, really affordable olive oil from Greece. So great. Again, not for cooking so much, but just for salads, or for dressing vegetables, etc. Toasted sesame oil, and then Finny balsamic glaze. So this is a great thing to just drizzle quickly over vegetables. You don't need a lot. It is sort of a splurge product, but again, it lasts for a long time, and there's no sugar added to it, and kids seem to love it. Acid League is this amazing brand. They make all of these really cool products, but vinegars specifically, and then I keep apple cider vinegar as well. As for sauces, you will see Rao's pasta sauces in my pantry because they are so delicious and they have no added sugar. I usually keep organic San Marzano tomatoes on hand, tomato paste, Thai kitchen curry pastes. And then for broths, if you want some great bone broth that is also low FODMAP, so no onions or garlic, Owl Venice makes incredible broths. They will ship them to you. They're based in Venice, California, and it's an incredible woman-owned company. Bonafide Provisions, that's just the regular broths that I might buy at the store. And those are great, all clean ingredients. Okay, pastas and noodles. Everything in my house is gluten-free, so here is our favorites. Whole Foods makes a great gluten-free shell pasta with just chickpea flour. No xanthan gum, nothing weird. Garofalo gluten-free pastas. These are from Italy, and they hold up so well. They are the best from a texture standpoint. Soba noodles, like a buckwheat soba noodle. Lotus Foods makes great brown rice noodles. And then we've been eating a lot of these palmini hearts of palm noodles. It's just hearts of palm that have been made into noodles. Canned goods and kind of other miscellaneous stuff. So we buy jackfruit. Jackfruit is this huge fruit and it's really pokey. It looks like a porcupine, but it just almost tastes like an artichoke heart, and it's sort of like a natural tofu, right? It'll take on whatever flavor and it pulls apart almost like pulled pork. So we'll use it on nights that we're just trying to do less meat. And then we also have Native Forest simple coconut milk. With coconut milk, most of them have like agar gum or a xanthan gum to thicken it. So look for the word simple or just turn it over, and you want to buy the ones, if you can, that just have coconut milk. I've also started buying these Matisse sardines. So sardines have really great omega-3s. We don't get enough of those. And because they're tiny little fish, no mercury. If you are giving them to a child, I wouldn't give them to children like maybe under 3 years old because they have tiny little bones. So just something to be aware of. For breadcrumbs, I use these Uphell Food nut crumbs, and I use those instead of like most breadcrumbs are highly, highly processed. Okay, rice. I'm going to tell you about a rice that's going to change your life. I won't say it is the healthiest rice, but it is the best tasting rice and it's organic. So Lotus Foods makes this jade pearl rice, and it's almost like a combination between like a jasmine rice and a sushi rice. It cooks in 15 minutes and it has like a dusting of bamboo powder on it. So it's this beautiful light green color, and I'm obsessed with it. Lundberg Family Farms is the other company. They're California based. It's a great brand. Seeds, buckwheat groats. Buckwheat is amazing. It's amazing for granola. It's amazing for hot cereal. So we do a lot of buckwheat, quinoa, and teff. Teff is also great. It's like a tiny, tiny little seed, and it almost makes like a cream of wheat cereal. We have sunflower seeds and hemp seeds. For nuts, we'll do almonds and Brazil nuts. For grains, we don't do a ton of grains, but we'll do Bob's Red Mill organic oats that are gluten-free, millet, and then we have beans and lentils. I have been trying to buy less cans of beans and instead buying whole beans, soaking them overnight. They make them a lot more digestible. If you are going to buy cans, definitely look at the labels. Try to buy them with no preservatives or emulsifiers. Do you want to talk about chocolate? Because I do. I love chocolate, and when I talk about chocolate, I'm usually talking about Hu. They have their chocolate chips with date sugar, and then we also love Guittard. They make a Sante chocolate chip with coconut sugar, only 2 grams. So those are my go-to for chocolate, and then we also usually keep like a plain organic cocoa powder on hand. What about snacks? We do have snacks in our pantry. For Stella, we buy the Serenity Kids butternut squash spinach pouches specifically. I don't give her a lot of pouches. I don't love pouches. I know they're not good for the environment, and I much prefer to use like Eco Mama's pouches that we can fill ourselves. But in a pinch, those are the ones I buy. Other snacks, dried mulberries. These little sweet, chewy berries are like nature's gummy bears. Stella loves them, and I feel good about giving them to her. Lupini beans, also amazing, such a good source of protein. We buy the sea salt ones. She loves those. Aloha bars. So these are delicious. They're a protein bar. They are factory food. I try not to eat them all the time, but they are 5 or less grams of sugar, and they use some monk fruit. If you haven't heard of masa tortilla chips, you are missing out. Most tortilla chips are going to be fried in seed oils. And so these are not. They are made with organic corn and tallow. Really unique, thick texture. They're incredible. Lesser Evil popcorn. Be Still My Heart. I love Lesser Evil. I love their popcorn. The pink Himalayan sea salt with coconut oil is my absolute favorite. But they have an amazing, like a kettle corn type. So check out Lesser Evil. And then we'll buy some seeded crackers if we're not making our own crackers. Rhythm is a great brand. They have carrot and beet chips that are just dehydrated. No oils, nothing like that. So if you want something crunchy, and then dang coconut chips, also amazing. So lots of snack options, and these are all like pretty much whole foods, but they're made in a convenient way for you. When we talk about baking, I'm going to have all your basic stuff, right? I like Bob's Red Mill baking soda and baking powder. It's really high quality, pure vanilla extract, almond extract. I'll keep some like yeast on hand if we're making bread. How do you replace food coloring and sprinkles, right? We're not taking the coloring out of our kids' lives. We're just making it better with plant-based products. So India Tree is my favorite brand, but Whole Foods also, they have plant-based sprinkles and they have plant-based food coloring if you're using those to make cookies or something. There's a kind of new brand on the market that I'll use for baking mixes. If, again, I'm in a pinch, I don't have time to bake from scratch. Stellar Eats baking mixes. These are amazing. They're grain-free, gluten-free, plant-based, paleo-friendly with only 8 ingredients or less. You can buy them online. That's what I recommend. They have a great website, or you can find them in some stores. For sugars, we do have sugar in our house, and we try to keep it to coconut sugar, date sugar, molasses, but I do have some organic powdered sugar because sometimes we're making frosting and I'm using a little bit of powdered sugar. It doesn't happen all the time. For flours, I love, if you need a good gluten-free flour, cup for cup is absolutely the best in terms of texture. It does have some xanthan gum in it. It also has milk powder in it, so something to be aware of. We have been doing a lot with cassava flour lately. We love Otto's cassava flour. Bob's has amazing almond flour and coconut flour and buckwheat flour. In my pantry, you will also find my root cellar, and by that I mean a box with potatoes and sweet potatoes and onions and garlic in it. Then we have a little basket for smoothies, and we recently got on board. I don't like protein powder usually. I don't feel like they feel very clean or natural, but I found one that I love. It is Be Well by Kelly LeVeque, and it is just grass-fed beef isolate. And then she has a plain one just with that. And then she does have a chocolate flavor and a vanilla flavor that just has the pure vanilla or some cocoa powder with a little monk fruit. So they're very clean, and having that protein in the morning has felt incredible lately. And then we also have something called Daily Elements. Daily Elements is the cleanest green powder you can buy on the market, and it's made with microgreens that are grown in a vertical farm. That means they are better than organic because there are no chemicals or pesticides sprayed on them at all. And then they dehydrate the microgreens, and microgreens are more nutrient rich than like a full spinach leaf. And so 1 little teaspoon is equivalent to 7 cups of greens. They have almost no flavor. You can put them in anything from a smoothie to a cup of water, a pancake. And so we keep those on hand all the time, especially on the days that we're busy and we just don't get in enough greens. All right. So now you've been in every nook and cranny of my kitchen. And again, there will be a list in the show notes that you can download with the entire grocery list. So the last thing I'll tell you about is just a couple kitchen tools that I really love. So a mandolin. Can these be scary for your fingers? Absolutely. Do I let Stella use it? Absolutely not. But they are so incredible. Just always use the safety guard for slicing vegetables thin or julienning them into noodles. I just love my mandolin. A Cuisinart, which is like a food processor that can just do a lot of heavy chopping work for you. My KitchenAid Mixmaster, and I have the spiralizer attachment, so I don't need a separate spiralizer. I would be nowhere without my mixer. I love it so much for baking from home, from scratch. And then my Vitamix blender. We do smoothies and soups. There's just so much you can do with it. And then mixing bowls, just some really great, simple, big mixing bowls, some for kids, like plastic ones that you don't care, what happens to them. And then spatulas. Spatulas, there are so many things you can do with spatulas, and I like to have plenty on hand. So in my kitchen, in my Earth Food First kitchen, that is exactly what you will find, and how I keep my family's health top of mind as we just kind of move through our days. I basically wanted to share today all of the products and foods that I really feel deserve my dollars on a regular basis. But with that said, some of these items are definitely costly, and we all need to find an Earth Food First kitchen that works for wherever we are financially or location-wise, which I know can make a massive, massive difference. Our family knows that we're super lucky to live in Southern California, where we always have access to, farmers markets year round, thanks to the weather. But what I really hope anyone can take away from the list that I shared today is just to focus on buying mainly whole foods with just a sprinkling of cleaner processed products made with minimal ingredients. Okay, so how does all of this food make it to our table? I wish that I could say that I love meal planning and prepping, but I don't. It's just not how I'm wired. For me, I would rather take the European approach, where I shop for foods kind of almost daily as we need them, and cook whatever I'm craving for dinner. But with a toddler in tow and a busy life, that very idealistic dream is just not always possible. So if I want our family to eat primarily whole foods from the earth, these foods need to be ready to eat when people are hungry, just like factory-made convenience foods are. So here is what my very basic meal prep schedule looks like. On Sunday afternoon, I will roast 2 sheet pans of veggies. I will steam some more veggies, saute a bunch of greens, I'll cook 1 whole chicken, make 1 pot of quinoa or rice or some type of a grain, and then I will cut up some raw veggies for the week, and sometimes I'll make either a soup or possibly a veggie bake that we usually would have that night for dinner, and I might make an extra one to freeze. And then on Wednesday evening, sort of before I begin cooking and also while I'm cooking dinner, I kind of do it all over again. So I roast a bunch of veggies, I do all of the above that I just mentioned, and then I might also bake some sweet potatoes, roast some more protein, and hard boil some eggs. So it's really only twice a week that I do maybe anywhere from an hour to 2 hours max. Really usually doesn't take 2 hours. Most of it is just, cooking, the cooking time. But that way you always have something when you open the fridge. On Saturday or Sunday, we usually try to bake something sweet, delicious, as a family. This is a really fun activity. And then we also have something more wholesome when the sugar craving strikes during the week. So keeping cooked veggies, grains, and proteins in the fridge at all times works wonders when little hungry or big humans want to eat, and they want to eat right now. Okay, my friends, if you have any questions at all about products or substitutions or healthy swaps, please DM me on Instagram. You can also email me at earthfoodfirst. Seriously, I love answering these type of questions. So reach out. I'm totally here to help and to support you. Thank you once again for spending time with me today, for listening, for caring, and for being bold in the face of change. If you learned something, it would mean the world if you would follow, rate, and review our podcast and share it with your favorite families. These actions will literally help our show go on. Find more Earth Food First goodness over on Instagram at Earth Food First, on our website, earthfoodfirst.com, and don't forget to grab your free Earth Food First grocery list in the show notes. See you next week.